hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love and support you guys extend my way. I highly appreciate every one of you. Before getting into the video, also thank you everyone from the heart for your understanding and for all the kind words you guys expressed when it came to well, you guys know, enjoying this couple days, right? Gracias. Well, to get right into it, right? Today I want to touch on, Aili. At one point, he was a good camarada, right? Of mine personally. And he was a border brother, a paisano. And I want to kind of like, not gonna say I talked to this, I talked to that guy, and or they called me. No, there's no need for that. But anyways, recently I was happy to hear some good news about him, right? And I thought I put in his struggle, right? We're not the only ones that go through struggle per se. But allow me to take you back. The first time I met the homie was in Tehachapi. You know, the paisano he was sailed up with shark from Pico Nuevo, and we were going out to the group yard together. He was real quiet. It's all about rutina. And I'm talking about OSO from Acapulco. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of him, but due to him not really being out there like that, there's a couple pictures of him in the pictures I slide through. I'll just say this: those that know OSO, you won't forget him, right? He's real dark skinned. He's about 6'5", and to be sincere, when it came to Raza, man, homeboy had some size, right? Nevertheless, he was a humble dude. In Tehachapi, he was doing his thing in the form of he was working for Chino, right, from El DF, and there was a lot of politicking at the moment with Chino. So you can imagine it was in times of soldados going against soldados. So he's going back and forth a lot to the shoe for booking, for fierros, and in Tehachapi, Toro. I'm not gonna say he had a bad spine with Chino, but you see, when a vato gets caught with fierros, that's considered a grimy move or a cause to go back to the shoe. Allow me to explain. You see, there's a lot of funny cats that lock it up point blank, but not in the full sense of it. What they do is they find out they're doing a sweep, or he does something to get his pad shaking in search, and he leaves them fierros exposed so that Huda finds them. They do this to get off the yard. They go back, they get their 115. A lot of them have a lot of time, or they're lifers, right? So a fierro ain't gonna put nada in reality on their time. They will get off the yard, go do a little shoe turn, and at the same time pretend they did something or were doing something and saying I went back to the shoe when in reality it's looked bad upon you going back to for fierro. It's just facts, you know. Me holding responsibility, believe me, I was always required anybody that went back to for fierro to dig into it, you know, see if it was like what it was, right? There's a lot of spots that it was mandatory for you to always carry a piece with you. So it happens. But there's a lot of cats from a level 3, from a level 4 that try to be in politics and felt the rope around their neck. So, you know, they did that funny stuff. Anyways, you know, everything was cool though with Oso. From there, he was actually going to go down to Calipat. And he knew it was going to be hard. Because up in Calipad, there was another soldado that had recently gotten hit, right? And there was a big war due to it. Not just because he was under Chino, but he was also touching base with Sherm, with one of the Ayala, with a couple, right? And I'm talking about old man Medina. And so also knew he was going to go there and, you know, let's just speak facts, you know. When you see a paisano get to a yard and have the blessings of a pili to blast camaradas, it's not looked right, you know. A lot of camaradas get that sore feeling towards the vato. Nevertheless, like I said, he was plugged in, right? Anyways, he went back there, and before I left to Tehachapi, you heard, you know, that I guess due to his size, he went at it with 4 or 5 homies. And like the homies got him, but you know, he was not one of them cats that backtrack, you know. He handled his business. You know, up to this point, it's just part of the program, right? You want to be in the mix. Hey, it was the times where you're gonna cut out, put yourself in this position. You're gonna suit up, boot up, and unfortunately, you were gonna go against your own gente. It was what it was due to the power struggles. You know, the second times, for those that have been with me, will remember me speaking of him. He was celled up with Bala. He was next door to me, you know, when in Fort Lev when I got there. And I heard for I don't want to recap on it too much, but for those that remember, this is the paisano that you know they tried to play him. Him and Bullet went out there and they booked the camaradas because they came back from Chino, you know, and Artie to let them do their thing. You know, this is just how it manifests, you know. Your name starts circling through different pilis. You start picking up that who, right? From there, I went to Fort Wright and also went down to one right where you know unfortunately it started, which was start cleaning his own gente. You know, border brothers, paisanos. You see, a lot of people have asked me, hey, what about the border brothers? You see, border brothers, you could say people took it and ran with it. You know, I see a lot of cats that even if they've been to prison, they're still not border brothers. I know the I know the founders. I had the privilege of sitting in the edge of San Quentin and discuss what the Border Brother movement was. And it ain't what you see today, right? Fools on the streets claiming it. There's a difference, big difference. Anyways, he went, like I said, he went back down to one block, and there was a vato there that for a long time he's been wanting to get in the mix, and he was doing wrong, right? Again, prison's a small world. I actually spoke about this paisano in Ironwood, right? I had to blast this guy. He was from Colombia. I call him Cali. And as far as I knew, he made some promises. He received something from Chino, and he couldn't meet the mark, right? Nor had the ends. I want to pinpoint though, even though OSO's doing this, he had a little bit of time, right? Remember, Corcoran told me he still had like, I believe 15 to go. But it's just how person works. That date, it could always work against you in the form that, me being a double lifer, everything I did, the DA seen my file and they never picked nothing up. I always got what I got from CDC and push forward. But when you have a date, that DA is going to try to bury you. It's just facts. And that's what happened. Also went out there and he collected the debt for Chino, right? And again, homeboy is a big boy. Kelly was tall, skinny, right? And he whacked him, but I guess hurt homeboy bad. The DA picked it up, and you know, all of a sudden, then 15 became you're never getting out. But again, someone that's in the wiggles, we all know it's what's gonna lead to, right? You either with it, with that in mind, or you sit down and just program. So it didn't fade, homeboy. You know, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. I have mentioned before, I was in the same compa with Chino when he was held up with Babo. And it's how I heard the outcome also, which he got out from that time, went up to high desert, and he had to choose a couple soldados, a couple camaradas that was Chino, and they were literally going at it because it's a time where they were trying to put Chino on the shelf. For those that know what I'm talking about, they were trying to politic against him 12, right? And homeboy was holding his ground with the understanding that if they succeeded on Chino, he was done too. Anyways, it works as so, you see. You could be working for a Pili, but when they trying to put someone on the shelf, well, at this time, I'm a Pili start going out. Hey, Chino from a left face is being looked into. He has no power right now. Anybody that's out there using his name and representing him, you know, warned him once. He continued, whack him, which was the case, you know. Homeboy didn't care. He was, I'm with so and so. They tried to give him the warning, you know, suit up, boot up. I know everything that's going on and is bogus, and you know, we'll write it out. Anyways, he took that stand, right? So you guys can imagine. And in that, homeboy got indicted. You know, them cases. He got indicted and he went to the feds. The minute he arrived at the feds, Chino had a lot more alliance, excuse me, more pilis with him than in the state, right? And is when everything came back that I'll speak better of it in a different episode, but the two pilis instigating against Chino, they went basura, right? So Chino bounced back up. With that, he sent word to the feds, if I'm not mistaken, to Shy, right? But don't quote me on it. Regardless, he wanted it also made. So, also sponsor was Shy. I believe at the time it was Cricket or Champ, one of them two. Regardless, he got made. But then came the politics of the feds. You see, in state, yeah, we do our own program. We write as one, right? When it comes to paisanos and sureños. But it don't work like that in the state, in the fed, excuse me. There's certain paisanos that will maintain tough with us. But overall, they write their own car. It's where that bad mouthing and all this made believe starts getting made up about homies, right? That reaches Mexico. Is where the hate comes in. Cause just off top, the Border Brothers per se, Border Brothers and AC, they have a huge car and they don't align themselves with us. There's always pedals there. And there's certain paisanos that you start hearing what we hear, right? Plásticos. Oh, we do our own program. Los pochos hacen lo suyo, right? You know, they don't say it straightforward because they know we'll go up, right? But you guys get it. Prison yard's a small place where everything's heard. You know, and the reality is 7 out of 10 paisanos you're gonna jam up, they're gonna deny it. Straight up. But without getting off track, right? Getting back to OSO. He went on a he went on a personal mission, now being a Pili, which was as a border brother, because he earned his BBs in prison, right? He was trying to unite them. He was trying to pick up the paisas in a sense like Cali, like we are in Cali. But it was a strategic move. You see, them cats always have dope. It's just facts, you know? And it wasn't happening. Even though he earned his BBs correctly, you know, for the movement, you could say, of protecting his gente, whatever, he caught life inside. All the paisanos in the feds looked at Oso as, even though he is a paisano, right? Never claimed to be anything else. Well, now Emme, he was looked as, sorry I say it like this, but a plastico lover, because he was with us, like that. Again, feds, state of California is a whole different stuff, you know, and I understand it. For those that know Cali struggles amongst us and paisanos, they were real. We're talking about a few deaths, right? Real till they got stopped. And we united is when that, oh, the ones that don't know, is when that movement Border Brother came into play, right? And those that know should know how they had to earn their BBs. It wasn't by claiming a street on the outs, you know. But regardless, he couldn't do it, and you guys know when it comes to Peelies, the jealousy, the hate comes into place. It's a must. Instead of offering to help, to utilize whatever one of them is trying and is struggling with against them. Happened with Gangster, with his own homeboy. It happened a few times, right? And it's what happened. They basically said he wasn't in par to hold the position. So he's gonna get put on the shelf till review. A lot of people take that and they get agüites, they stop. But homeboy started doing it by force. What do I mean by this? He's still a carnal. He had camaradas with him, and wherever he was at, he pinpointed the heads of the poison with paisas, and he started knocking them down. He started knocking it down, and at the same time, he was dealing with politics when it came to his own brothers, per se, right? And by this time, I'm already in the feds, and it's when they actually sat down Chino. You see, there's no retirement for him, so with the age, Chino will end up in Vacaville, and just being in that pinta, they're gonna strip you. Everything you had, it's gone. You're dead weight. Cure yourself, but you know. So, anyways, homeboy held on. A lot of people knew him and they supported him as a person, right? They rode with him. Well, to not make this very long, within time he was able to pull a lot of paisanos in the feds, and he would eventually get cleared by Shy. Homeboy's doing his thing. We all know how it is in the feds. There ain't nothing wrong with what he's doing. So he got his status back. But after, you're going against a big car like the Paisas In the feds, it's huge. And you being a paisano, you're trying to do something for your gente, right? In reality, you're trying to do something for the EME. You're trying to tap into what they have. And instead of helping, you start politicking against me. It's the way the EME works. See, I was with Sana when word came back around that also was to be supported, and though he had his status, back. It should have never been up for question. If that was the case, there's many, including Shy, padrinos, that sponsor fools, and the padrino, the main fool, would end up getting clipped, weaning out, whatever, and then it mean it was gonna ricochet in his soldados. That only happens if Billy falls. His crew of sureños are gonna go down, but not with them. Anyways, also would end up getting pushed. I heard the only ones he couldn't really fully pull was the Arizona car. They just didn't want nothing to do with the EME. Point blank. They felt they were what they were, right? But you gotta respect it too, right? But anyways, he would eventually end up where he's at now, in ADX, Slam. And that's all it rode. Unfortunately, a lot of people compare ADX to San Quentin. No. San Quentin was not even to the ankles of what ADX is. But again, my next one is gonna touch on that, the different levels, prisons, SAM status, as I mentioned before. I just wanted to share with you the struggle that also went through. Most of all, it's not really heard of, right? Why? Because he's a paisano, Billy. My question is, why, even though there's one, two, three, four, five paisanos that are Pilis, our Pilis, they're still being kept in the shadows? Equal? Nah. But I just wanted to share also struggle and basically point a glimpse of what prison really is. You see, if you go in prison and you think you're gonna be buddy with somebody and it's gonna always be 100% with you, that's not what prison is. You're always at each other's throats. You're always looking for someone to make a mistake. Our gente. Unfortunately, the way things are set up is you're gonna go earn and prove yourself against one of your own. You know. But it's why I always say stay loyal to your neighborhood. Stay loyal to those that actually could tell you to your face, I'm here, and they're there. And I include myself. I knew what the game was. You don't play with feelings. But anyways, I thought I wanted to share something real fast with you guys. Cause I've been with my visit, but my lungs gave out. You guys know, how to excuse myself till tomorrow. But anyways, I'll share with you guys a little bit more tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific when I will be going live. With this said, please stay true to yourself, loyal to loved ones. Hope I made sense, everyone.
This is what we start. We always